Inside Scoop Time with Ken Rosenthal from Los Angeles. Ken, good to see you. I'll start big picture and then we'll focus on a couple more detailed topics. So the column you put out this morning is titled, As World Series Pressure Tightens, Resilient Blue Jays Insist on Keeping Things Loose. Just from judging that article by its cover, doesn't every team try to keep the World Series vibes loose? Or do you really feel something different with this team? Because you've covered a ton of these.
Both. And I addressed this in the article. Great teams always talk about how resilient they are, how they overcome the odds, how people are against them, all this stuff. But the Blue Jays have demonstrated this time and again this season. And as I wrote, and I said last night on the broadcast too, led the majors in comeback wins during the regular season. In the ALCS, they're down 2-0 after losing the first two games at home. They're down 3-2 after a crushing loss in Game 5, win that. So what they did in this game last night without George Springer, with a pitching matchup seemingly favoring the Dodgers, what they did was in character. And yes, all teams like this do have a certain resilience, and we know that. This team, though, to me, and having been around them now for a few weeks, it's a special quality. And I can't say it's more special than any other World Series champion or World Series team, but it sort of defines them. And they talk about it a lot.
Ken, at what point are you media folks that are just rooting for the Dodgers, are we going to stop being surprised? Are you guys going to stop being surprised by what the Blue Jays are doing? Because, you know, the Yankees, they're going to lose to the Yankees at some point. They're down to the Mariners. They lose the first two games. The Dodgers, like you've said many times, are just going to squash them like little bugs. Ken, at what point do you media folks stop being surprised by what the Blue Jays are doing and how good they are?
First of all, I never said that. I don't care who wins. Second of all, AJ, don't play the you media folks game when you are now in the media. Now, what you're saying, though, there is a certain validity to it, not just among the media, but among fans. The expectation is that the Dodgers were going to be favored in this series, and they were, and that they probably would win in 5 or 6 games, which they still could do at least 6 games. The perception was that way because of the defending World Series champions. They've had an interesting kind of year, but they got hot at the right time. Now, what has happened is the Blue Jays have gotten hot at the right time too, and the Dodgers, while their pitching has been outstanding, starting pitching, their offense has sagged and their bullpen remains a question. So this series, in my mind, was never going to be a rout. I thought it would go 6, and I thought the Dodgers would win. Now I'm not so sure, to be perfectly honest, because what we have is a best of 3 with 2 of the games potentially in Toronto.
Does this become a must-win for the Blue Jays? Because there's been you can see a little cracks in the armor when you look at Snell. They got to Snell and Shohei wasn't awesome. Glasnow can have his things, but Yamamoto, nobody's cracked Yamamoto. So does this become a must-win for the Blue Jays because of how good Yamamoto has been?
You can look at it one of 2 ways, Eric, and certainly the way you just described. You've got Yamamoto in Game 6. He's coming off back-to-back complete games, brilliant performances. You got to win tonight. But to go back to the original question that Scott asked, they got down 3-2 in the ALCS, and they lost that game in crushing fashion. They were up in the 8th inning. Cal Raleigh hit the home run. And then Suarez, we know what happened. And yet they go back home and they win. They go back to Toronto, and who knows what might happen in Game 6. Now, granted, Yamamoto was brilliant in Game 2, and that's going to be something in their minds. Can he do it a third time? I would seem to think that he can. But I don't know, Eric, that anything we've seen this postseason, even in the regular season, has gone according to what we necessarily expected. And if this series has 1 or 2 more surprises, that wouldn't surprise me either. It would be nice for Toronto in their pursuit here to win tonight, obviously with Yamamoto in Game 6. I don't think it's a must-win.
I would think it's more of a must-win for the Dodgers. With Snell going as good as Snell was, I know he wasn't great in Game 1, but to me, this is a bit – because you don't want to have to go back to Toronto and have to win 2 games. Everyone has kind of figured out that Toronto's a really hard place to play when the Blue Jays are good. You saw the watch party last night. There was – I don't know how many people were in the Rogers Center / Sky Dome cheering and going crazy. Imagine if it comes back for Game 6 and 7 and everything's on the line. That place is going to – forget the whole place. The whole country is going to be going insane.
That's true. And it's a good point because the Dodgers, again tonight, seemingly have the pitching matchup in their favor. Snell, you would think, would be better. He said fastball command was the issue in his last start. He wasn't good by his estimation in that performance. And with the Blue Jays, it's Yesavage for the second straight start on 4 days rest. His velo was down about a mile per hour on 4 days rest, which he hasn't done a lot in his previous start in Game 1. So you would think that, yes, this is a game the Dodgers should win, but you probably would have thought that last night, especially without Springer. I wouldn't expect Springer to play tonight either, but this will be interesting tonight because, again, the Dodgers offense, and I expect a lineup change. Pages will probably be out of there tonight. The Dodgers offense, except when Ohtani is rolling and maybe Freeman is doing some things, they're not doing a whole lot, and that's a problem.
Pages, you just mentioned Pages being out. Is it just a simple Alex call because that's who's come off the bench the most? Or is there something where we ask Tommy Edman to go to center field? Is it Kim in there, Miguel Rojas, or is it just an easy swap? You think it's just an easy swap of call?
That would be my expectation. That it would be call with Kike moving to center. Tommy Edman has had that ankle issue. He hasn't played the outfield in a long time, even taken fly balls in quite some time. So I wouldn't expect it to be Edman. There is a way, if you put Edman out there, that's how you get Rojas into the infield, but I just don't see that coming. What I see is call in left and Kike in center. It's not ideal defensively, and that's why Dave Roberts has resisted doing it, because this is a team right now built on its pitching. But Pages, I believe it's 4 for 50 right now in the postseason. It's not good enough. And the at-bats are largely empty. They are seemingly on the verge of a change here.
This episode of FT is brought to you by Huel. Cheers.
Cheers.
We got a new Huel edition here, the Daily Greens. I've got blueberry, lemon, and thyme. You've got?
I got myself peach and hibiscus. I love peach. This is delicious. Fuel for the go, man. And this is really good for your body. It's really good for your systems. Anything that has greens in it, especially from Huel, is pretty fantastic. This will get you going, a little energy, a little boost, and keep your insides feeling well too.
Yeah, developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians. Few vitamins, minerals, and superfoods. Only 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, only 1 gram of sugar. That's the goods. Of course, we still love the Huel Black Edition. I got chocolate peanut butter. How you doing?
Strawberry banana is delicious.
Let's go. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with the exclusive code FOUL at Huel.com/foul. Use that code and fill out the post-checkout survey to help support the show.
You think that they have to make this change? Because it's not like Call is, I mean, I know Call is a kind of a left-handed specialist. Is this just making a change to make a change? Why not Kim at second base and try Edman in the outfield? Why not, I don't know, try something completely different? Like, I feel like if you throw Kim out there, maybe it's a different dynamic. It's a guy that puts the ball in play and can run and might put some pressure on the Blue Jays. But Betts hasn't, I mean, you guys showed it on the postgame last night. Betts is not well. Kike is not well. Pages, obviously, we know those struggles. But there's not, it's really Shohei and Freddie. Muncy hasn't done much, right? It's really Shohei and Freddie. If they don't hit, I mean, you go back to the extra innings, Freddie's really the only one that did anything. They walked Shohei every time, clearly. But it's been Shohei and Freddie, and the rest of the lineup has been kind of like, we're just going through the, not they're going through the motions, but we're just like there. Nothing, no damage, no anything really.
AJ, you're right. And the question with Edman versus Kim, or with Kim, if Edman can't do it physically in center field, then it's not a question. No Rojas, no Kim. You can't move Edman off of the infield. So you ask if they have to do it. No, they don't have to do it, and you can keep your defense intact. But essentially, you've got a dead spot right now in front of Ohtani. And the way they are playing, in my view, they need a jolt. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dave Roberts shook up the order tonight, because they need some kind of different look, something to change the energy of that offense. And obviously, one good night would change everything, right? That's how the postseason works. You look at it differently. But they really haven't had a good night in a while. They're averaging since the division series, since the wild card round, 3.75 runs per game. That's not good enough. Even though they keep winning because mostly their pitching has kept them going, they are not a team right now that offensively is imposing at all.
Is there a chance Springer gets an at-bat in the rest of the World Series? Because if not, is the fear of him looming, like, oh, he had his uniform on, even with a shirt over top of it, better than Loper Fido being activated and then they have more options off the bench?
They're knocking on my door here, guys, even with the privacy sign on.
Housekeeping?
I don't believe Springer will play again.
Ken,
but
you want your pillow fluff?
They're holding out hope. And the way John Schneider described it to me last night in the in-game interview was, hey, he made progress today. We think he may be a go tomorrow. I don't know that that's true. And we'll see. The truth will come out in the lineup when we see the lineup. But he is a guy that is really tough. We know that. We also know that obliques are really tricky, and that's what he's dealing with, or seemingly some kind of issue with his side. And because of that, I just can't see him recovering that quickly. The kneecap, that was bad, right? And he came back with only a day off between games 5 and 6 of the ALCS, but it's really hard to do when you've got a side issue and he swings as violently as he does. So I have a hard time believing that he's going to play, and if he does, more power to him. I remember David Popkins, the hitting coach, saying in the ALCS after he got hit in Game 5, you're going to have your Kirk Gibson moment. This would be, I don't know, Kirk Gibson times 2 because Springer already had that moment in Game 7 of the ALCS.
Ken, by the way, the Blue Jays, I mean, I know Springer has been great for him in the postseason, but Bo Bichette stepped in and is doing a nice job as the DH. It's not like they didn't have anybody to step in, and it actually it improved their defense and kept their offense similar to when Bichette was out and they had Springer. So it's not like it was the end of the world, and that's a good thing for the Jays organization that they had the depth to do that. Now, we've talked about Snell. We've talked about Yesavage. What about the bullpens? I thought, Dave Roberts threw a lot of his guys out there other than Sasaki yesterday to try to keep them in that game, whereas the Blue Jays, they use Bassett. I mean, they use Varland every day, so that doesn't really count. But, who's more ready for this Game 5 on the third day? I feel like the Blue Jays might be in a better spot bullpen-wise after the 18-inning game and then yesterday than the Dodgers, because the Dodgers did use a bunch of their guys up yesterday to try to keep that game close.
Yeah, I'm still not in love with either bullpen, even after the 18-inning game, which was a tremendous performance by both, and you cannot take that away from them. But you're right, AJ. Based on last night and the way it went down, yes, maybe the Dodgers used some of their guys to an extent that they weren't going to be comfortable with using them today. But Bassett threw 2 innings after 1 inning the night before, I believe, only 20 pitches. He is a guy that has a rubber arm. He can pitch, so that's a good sign for them. Fluharty, of course, was really good last night, and they're going to need him to be really good because Brendan Little, he's given up 2 huge homers in the postseason now. So from the left side, it's really Fluharty and Little, and you don't want to use Little. And the other one is Eric Lauer, but he's more of a long guy, and of course he threw 4 2/3 innings in the 18-inning game. So I'm not sure I would give either team the edge with the bullpen, but the Blue Jays, because of what they're doing right now, and Hoffman not being necessarily a big part of the picture so far, except a little bit, yes, they should be well positioned.